Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man Cinema Sit Down. I got my Obi Wan robe on, so you know what we're getting ready to do. My good friend Britt is actually here this week. She's feeling better. We are very glad that she's no longer feeling under the weather. I obviously did everything on my own, although I literally just put that video up. So I want to give Britt an opportunity to talk about last week. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We are getting ready to talk about what we missed last week, which was pretty much Britt's thoughts on the episode for Obi Wan Kenobi, Part 5. Britt, how are we feeling this morning?
I am feeling great. Like I was telling you before we started recording, very, very bummed, or like we were talking about, bummed that like last week of all weeks when Hayden Christensen was like back in full force, pun intended, that I wasn't feeling good to record my reactions, but I'm back. Looking forward to the finale.
I literally said to Britt, I was like, the episode opened, and I was just like, son of a bitch, this is the week that Britt has to feel under the weather, because this is the episode I know she was waiting for all season. Like, while the reveal of Vader and all of the Vader Obi-Wan stuff is great, I don't know a bigger Hayden Anakin fan than Britt. So knowing that we were going to get him back at some point in the season in some sort of a flashback, and not just any flashback, but we get Padawan Anakin and mullet Obi, and they didn't really de-age either guy, which worked a lot for me. I said that last week. I kind of thought that you could tell, like, Hayden trying to act like a teenager almost improved the performance of the character. But I already told everybody what I'm thinking. So Britt, I think what myself and everybody else is wondering is, what were your thoughts of last week's episode? Give us your review. Hit anything you want to hit. It's spoiler, barrage, all you.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he still had some wrinkles didn't bother me. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I just, to see him back and like see him get to play and like really eat the character of Anakin in a way that like we haven't seen, but to really reveal a lot of his like character flaws, right? Like the back and forth and like always having to prove himself and always having to be like correct, and you know, in Obi-Wan calling it out, I think that was a great through line for the episode to really understand, like, okay, if you're gonna make Vader not catch Obi-Wan again, when we see he's so powerful when he pulls down the ship, why is he doing this? Oh, because he has this innate character flaw, which they spoon feed us via like a training session. It was great. And to see the mullet back, it was great. I mean, you can tell that both of these guys just love their characters and they love acting together. Yeah. And they had so much fun getting, you know, and we've seen interviews with them where they talk about how much they love playing lightsabers, and like, you know, it's not as cool as the ones that they had like a decade ago because, you know, it's they're a little more flimsy now, but like they had fun. And I think you could really tell. And I think the parallels of like them being in the Jedi temple and like staring out on Coruscant, and like him creepily staring at where Padme Amidala sleeps. You know, even though he's 40, he's still a creepy teenager. You know, like just his obsession, and that's fine. This is clearly, I don't, obviously before they get married, before he loses his hand, I don't know how early technically in like pre Attack of the Clones this is. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure on timeline, but like if this is before they went to go see her, or, you know, slightly after, and he's off staring in the distance, just like staring at her, like, okay, you creep, we get it. But it was still fun. So all of that stuff was great. Like, honestly, I could have had 6 episodes of that, like mixed in with Vader content, and I would have been happy. I didn't need any Grand Inquisitors.
Yeah.
The Leia stuff is great, but I don't need Reva. Like,
it's funny. It's one of those things because like something that gutted me last week, and I literally at the beginning of the episode, like Tala has a wonderful moment. I'm just like, I love this character, man. Like, I hope there's some way we can come back around, like do like a, you know, Underground Railroad style like show where
Yeah.
you're seeing Tala and these guys like kind of shuttle these Jedi to safety, and then she bites it at the end. And of all the characters too, like she was the correct character to use there. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's a bummer. And then in the back of my head, I'm kind of like, well, we have a timeline that goes in both directions. Theoretically, you could still do a Tala show.
Yeah.
And like Ewan McGregor recently came out and was like, I really hope I get to be Obi again. Like I feel like we could find 2 or 3 more stories to tell before I'm out, Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
And, like you could. The fact that sequence works so well, and you don't have to put the digital effects on to de-age these guys and have it look a little funny and get like the real raw performance. Like you could go back and maybe not Padawan Anakin, but like you could tell like a Clone Wars style story where you get to see these two, expanding their
Yeah.
brotherhood, in live action, which would be cool. But
Yeah, 100%. And I will say we're getting a Cassian Andor story, and we know what happens to him in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So we very well could get something with Tala and Ned B, and like just prior to the start of Obi-Wan. I think that would be great because of all the new characters, like brand new, we've never seen them before. She has the best arc, and she was in like 3 episodes, but we know her beginning, middle, and her motivations, why she would sacrifice herself, why she's helping Obi-Wan. Like you felt her death. I felt her death more than I felt Reva's because
oh, absolutely.
or Reva's supposed
Reva's.
death, because like as a character, and taking nothing away from Moses Ingram, separating her acting from the written character, what she was given to perform, she's not well written. The character of Reva is not well written. And I think it's been a problem this entire season of we don't know her motivations. She kind of says her motivations, but then at the end of the episode, you have her having the calm and kind of like being suspect as to like why you care that Bail Organa now is like telling you about the twins. She clearly cannot survive this episode because nobody can know about the twins.
Oh yeah.
And you have to wonder if Obi-Wan was like setting her up to die. He knows what Vader's capable of. Did he really think that like she could take him on? Probably not. Like he's not only does he know Anakin, but he's faced Vader, and he's like, there's no way.
I mean, he's a lightsaber.
Yeah, like
so cool.
Yeah, I will say though, their battle, Reva and Vader last week was dope. It was really cool. It was like I got excited. It looked great. Vader's a badass, and we know that. But like to turn and be like, oh yeah, I was a youngling. I did all of these awful things that you saw me do in the first 4 episodes when you thought I was bad, just because I want revenge. So she was okay doing everything that she was mad about Anakin for doing, killing young kids, killing innocents, what have you, just to get revenge. And like you were saying, like she clearly hates Obi-Wan as much as she hates Anakin. So it's not like she's trying to help Obi-Wan in any way.
Yeah.
She's literally just out for herself. But that it just doesn't make sense. And I'm hoping we get some kind of like easy ending resolution for her. yeah, like
it's one of those, like I said this last week, as soon as there was like a moment at some point where maybe it was like when Obi was starting to manipulate her, but I was like, she's dead. Like she is done this week. There's no way she gets out of this. And like you said, I don't think she's been written that great. I think Moses Ingram has really elevated the character a lot because her performance has been really, really strong. But like for me, she served her purpose in the show up to last week's episode. And the minute you bring the Grand Inquisitor back, like I'm just expecting him to turn that the only reason like Vader didn't kill her was he was gonna let the Grand Inquisitor do it. Give me the little spinny lightsaber thing and take her out. And it's strange that you would keep her around and then keep her around. Like the minute that he dropped those comms, I was like, people are pissed about this Grand Inquisitor shit. if
Yeah.
Vader or somebody gets to Tatooine or knows that Obi-Wan is there, like the whole genius of the early episodes is like you found a way to get him off Tatooine so that you could have this story. Like you're really playing in an area where it's like I think people are excited for what's coming this week, but at the same time you're like, you got me once, and we trust, you ultimately trust it works out. But it's like you didn't even have to have me worry about this shit this week. Like you could have just taken her out, ended that story, and now you just have Vader chasing them wherever they're going, which isn't going to be Tatooine because they're trying to drop all these people off first.
Yeah, like we commended them in the first 2 episodes. We're like, this is genius. We were worried. You're like, how do you get Obi-Wan / Ben Kenobi to not get caught for all these years, being on Tatooine, being so close to Luke, being where Anakin grew up? Oh, you're taking him off world. There's no trace of him back in Tatooine. And now you have her directly knowing essentially that there's 2 of them. And so now Bail and Leia and the Organas are in danger. Luke is supposedly in danger because they don't trust Reva, because I have no idea where her motivations are. Maybe that's what they wanted, but like
Complete wild card.
It's also episode 6. I don't need this character coming in and taking away from like Obi-Wan and Vader, because yeah, we saw them fight in the earlier episodes, but like Obi-Wan got his ass kicked. And yes, we saw them in the flashback, but like I think people are still expecting, and that could be on us for expecting something, right? You should have no expectations going into these anymore. But you want an epic battle of like Obi-Wan is now like full strength, back on his Jedi shit, versus Vader, who's like really coming into power. Not saying, I don't know. I just want more Obi-Wan and Vader, and I'm afraid that like Reva is gonna come and like mess it up, because that's a thread that they have to finish.
Yeah, that they could have finished. The one thing that I will say specifically about that Vader like fight sequence, and just I think the genius of like it's one of those things where it's like you see a character like Reva where the writing is not that strong, but then like you do something like what they do in the episode when it comes to those 2 characters, and it's like you're saying like you want Obi-Wan full strength, back on his shit, being ready to fight for sure, but there's no way that Obi-Wan just getting reacclimated with using the Force and stuff again can actually go toe to toe with this guy. I mean, he literally disarms an Inquisitor with no weapon at all, right? And that's the thing that's genius about the episode is Obi-Wan gives up his saber, and I thought that was a wonderful thing for Kamal Nanjiani's character to like get the arc, and he ends up like getting to take care of Obi's saber. And they're like, you're gonna go in there without a lightsaber. He's like, you don't need a lightsaber to win. And then you see that reflected in their training session where Obi doesn't need the lightsaber to beat Anakin. And then you flip it to, so like everything that he's doing throughout the episode, it's all strategic, right? Like it's the one thing that you're gonna get with Jedi or Sith is that they're master manipulators. They know how to manipulate people, and one side does it for good, one side does it for bad, and that changes in the type of manipulation. But we've seen how Vader manipulates, Reva. We see how Obi does it, and Obi, all of his moves are strategic, and he's setting himself up to mentally beat Anakin, right? Like Anakin will get in his own way. That's why he's still the learner. And you see, Vader go into, I don't need a weapon because I can just brutally attack you using the Force, where it's like he's on attack mode. So I think the foreshadow for this episode is you're gonna see these 2 guys duel it out legit, but you're gonna have Anakin coming from pure rage, revenge, and like physicality, where I think Obi-Wan is gonna get the upper hand on the mental side. It's the only way that he can get the upper hand. And the thing that I love about this show is I think it really elevates that New Hope learner master point. And like Obi still needs to be the master at the end of this. If he can't beat him straight up physically, it's gonna be outsmarting him in some way to trap him to get the higher ground, so to speak, again.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if they're following the pattern of like episodes are loosely tied to the first 6 movies, right? And like we all know what episode 6 is. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they tie this into the finale episode. And I will say I just finished reading Brotherhood, which is the new Anakin and Obi Wan book. I think by Mike Chen, and the entire premise of it's right after Anakin becomes he becomes a master, no longer Padawan. They're off on their first solo adventures essentially, and their big through line was like Obi-Wan is always strategic. He is more political. He's going to try and like sway you with words, not force or physicality. And Anakin just comes in and swoops in and is like, action. I'm going to think later. I don't care what I'll worry about the consequences after it happens. And just like the pull of them trying to be like, okay, well now Anakin's like, I get why Obi-Wan is more strategic. I have to be more like him. Or like Obi-Wan's like, I just have to like kind of go and follow my instincts. Like I don't always need a plan. And so that like them butting heads like that because they're so different. That was the big idea of the book. And you see that reflected in the show. I understand why the book came out so soon before the show, because it really, on the book cover, Anakin has his Padawan braid still and things like that. So like you see all of those reflections and the differences, and they're like really trying to highlight that. And like the show does a really good job about doing that. So it'll be interesting to see the strategist Obi-Wan against, like you were saying, the rage pack Anakin Vader.
And like I said, like it was cool in how you're able to depict that in the training session and how the two of them apply it to the real world situation that they're in. The only other thing that I'll say is I love the choreography of the training session and how like the beginning points of like that sequence feel very much like Mustafar and what we were getting in Sith. Whereas the second time we go back, right, where they're clenched this way, and you see Anakin come with like the three chops, all of a sudden he's mimicking what he does on the mining planet. And it's like, you can see in this training session how both of them form the way they go about things, but more so Anakin, because he's obviously been the aggressor with the saber in the show. But like just little things like that, because I'm a big choreography nerd, and it's like, you just see these moments where it's like they're not even doing anything, but you're seeing the twirl behind the back, and I'm like, oh, that's that Revenge of the Sith shit. And then like you're getting things that very much work in the series now. So that's all I've got. Anything else for you on episode 5?
No, I think it was fun. My favorite episodes are the first 2 still, but seeing Hayden back as like Anakin and like it like made my week. It was so exciting. It was like, I love it. I love the feeling of that reveal and like just the excitement, which is why everybody wanted this show. As much as people are like not happy with certain aspects, the things that are great are like things that I've wanted for years. Yeah. So I have no faults with them.
Well, and like that's the fun thing, or not fun thing, where like you go on Twitter after certain episodes and you see the immediate reaction. And not that I think there's been a decent mix. I think a lot of people have really enjoyed this show and are loving it, but like you seem to hear the negative stuff louder. And last week, even though I think personally, like I said, I think for me, it's probably my second favorite. Even though I think 3 is my favorite, I think 1 is the best written. Like it's one of those where like I have issues with certain elements of the episode. I think they could have shown some things more. Or like I said, the Reva stuff is just kind of strange to have hanging out there. But where was I going? I lost myself.
The comments.
Like the reactions on Twitter after the episode were literally nothing but positive. And it was just like, oh my God, this brought me back to being a kid. It's like that was the moment where all of us kids who grew up with these guys as our Star Wars, like all of those kids came out and everybody was happy last week, which is a lot of fun. So I'm very excited. There you go, folks. Those are all our thoughts on part 5. We've emptied the tank. We found out what Britt was thinking. She was a big fan. Gotta love anytime you're throwing back. You bring back mullet Obi-Wan. I mean, you can take all my money. You can take my parents' money. You can take my brother's money. I'll find a stranger on the street. You can take their money. But it's one of those where it was a great episode and a lot of fun. We're very excited for this finale. So we're all done with what we thought. Now, give us your last thoughts. What were things that maybe you watched, picked up on a second time around? What really popped for you on episode 5? Anything that you haven't said yet? Put it down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you guys down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me and Britt a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime, we're talking movies, TV, trailer reactions. I went and saw Elvis, like an early access, like week plus screening with my mom. So we're gonna have some thoughts on that. And my mom crushed the review shit this week. I love it so much. So you want to be here for that. The rest, you want to see mine and Britt's thoughts on the finale. We're here. We're getting ready to watch. You want to be here. You haven't yet. Show a little love and support, man. Jump over there, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, which will be very, very soon. For the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, that's been my friend Britt. I've been the C-Man. We're signing off. Peace.
Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.